So a very good morning to all of you. So it's a very good day and a very happy moment for all of us as we have with us a retired Professor HP Shukla sir, and it's an honor for all of us to be here and to learn from HP Shukla sir. Just to give you the context of this meeting that we are going to have. We know learners that English has always been a challenge for the Indian learners because it is not our main language, it is the second language, and because it's a challenge, that's why it is also very important for us to learn it and to use it in our day-to-day life. So when Shukla sir and I, met, and we decided that we should have rather a kind of meeting where we can, where sir can share his views with us related to English, and especially this batch where we are, all of us, most of us are B.Ed or most of us are preparing for NET. So all these things, taken together, I would like all of us, to hear sir's views on, especially on English learning and how English learning can be, a fun for all of us. Because I have also felt as a student of English, coming from this background of Uttarakhand especially, that English has created a kind of fear for all of us because of the different reasons. It may be because of the backgrounds from which we come. It may be because of the mental blockages that we have related to the English, especially the spoken aspect, and especially the personality related issues that we have. So before we give this space to Shukla sir, so that we can all enrich from his learnings, I would just briefly like all of us or all of you to introduce him. And so he joined the system in 1977 from Mount University and worked for 30 years in DSB campus Nainital. After which Uttarakhand Open University approached him and he joined there as a director of English language and also acted as in the capacity of VC, Vice Chancellor, for 2 short tenures. Not only this, he has also done his doctoral thesis on Sri Aurobindo, and he has been kind of, for me I would like to tell all of you that for me he has been like a, whenever I was in dire straits, whenever I was in difficulty in terms of learning English and literature, I always used to approach and still approach Shukla sir because he guides me like a younger brother, and I have learnt a lot, not even from his, of course, skills that he has as an English teacher, but from his overall personality. So when we decided to have this kind of short program, when I met him in his house, I learnt a lot of things from his character, and also, most importantly, the way he approached life. And as I have told you that he has been a spiritual seeker as well, so there is a heart-to-heart connection there as well, because I also have a lot of belief in spiritualism, and I think that that is the way to go forward. So this is the second context, my dear learners. And the third context is that it's a very important context that KJ as an institute also want to grow in a holistic manner, where just learning academically will not go us or will not make us go forward in a long term. We have to groom ourselves, whether we talk about meditation, whether we talk about music, or whether we talk about developing our soft skills, on which sir is also going to share his views. So I just request all of you to clap again once again for that. So over to you, sir.
Good morning, everybody. And, I'm really grateful to Knowledge Junction and Saurav for inviting me for this talk. I have known him for a long time. In fact, long back in 2010-11 when I came, he was one of the first persons that I met here. I found he was brilliant, he was hard-working, and more than that, he was a very good human being. And I tell you that this goodness is much more important than anything else for being a good teacher. In fact, I thought I'll focus my lecture on the topic on the making of a good English teacher. So this goodness is very important. When I remember my teachers, let me acknowledge it at the very beginning that whatever I am, it is because of my teachers. Whatever I have learned, whatever I know, the direction in which I have grown, I owe it all to my teachers. They were brilliant scholars, no doubt. But more than that, they were exceptionally good human beings. That's why I still remember them. Now, let us come to the topic. And I would like to begin by sharing a joke with you. There was this MA final Viva Voce exam. Do you know what is this Viva Voce exam? Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So there was this student, MA final student, and the examiners asked him about romantics and Shakespeare and moderns, T.S. Eliot. And at the end of the exam, one of the examiners asked, "Sir, now can we discuss something about God?" And the student replied, "Sir, he is not in the syllabus." So, what we are going to talk today is not in the syllabus, anywhere in the country. It is not taught. And yet what happens is that we learn it all the time from our teachers, from generation to generation. Teaching, I said, is perhaps it's the noblest profession. I have taught for more than 45 years, you know. I joined as a teacher at the age of 20 and retired at the age of 65, so that's more than 45 years. And I tell you, if there is God and if there is rebirth, and if God were to ask me, what do you want to become in your next life, my answer would be, I would like to be a school teacher. So, when we start exploring things, we begin from where we are. What exactly you are now, what you are doing here, why we are gathered here. This is the now, this is the situation. So let us take stock of now and here, understand it, see it very clearly, and then we can move on to explore further. Of course, you are preparing for some exam, you all want a job, that's the first necessity. and you have found Saurabh sir as your mentor, as your guide, and I am sure you'll be able to crack your exam, your whatever it is, the competitive exam. But that is a short-term goal, immediately. And we'll see, we all need money, we all need work, we all need job to sustain ourselves. That's very important, that's necessary. But that's a short-term goal. In English, we have two words, strategy and tactic. Tactic is when you are planning for a particular goal, which is immediate, that's tactic. Strategy, even if you look at the Oxford dictionary, it says strategy is defined by Oxford English Dictionary as a plan of action designed to achieve a long-term or overall aim. Now, what we are doing today cannot be strategy, cannot be a long-term. The long-term goal is, what exactly do you want to become? See, you want to become a teacher. You want to become an English teacher, teacher of English language and literature. And you, right now, what you are seeking is in consonance with your skills, with your attitude, with your knowledge. You think you are capable of doing this and you can pass this examination, you can do it. It's doable. You feel it's doable, I can manage it. So you are acting in consonance with your skills, with your qualifications, with your intelligence, with your capacity, etc. But when you plan a strategy, when you plan long-term goal, then you don't plan according to your present capacities, because the capacity can grow. I can always become better. I can move on, and therefore the goal also moves on. As my capacity grows, my goal, my aim also move on. That is where it comes, that you are dreaming. You are a dreamer. And this dreaming is very important. This, all our students are, most of you are students of literature. And you know how important that faculty of imagination is in literature. So this imagination, this dream is very important when you are thinking of your strategy, when you are thinking of your long-term goals. We said, if you want to be a teacher, you want to be a teacher of English, but you want to go up. Possibly you begin with a school teacher, then you move to become a college teacher, and who knows, one day you may land up becoming a university teacher. It's all possible, it's all within your possibilities, and you should not stop dreaming. You should not kind of hedge, you should not kind of block that this is all that I can achieve and no further. So I'm sure some of you will one day land up being a university teacher. That's possible. You can do it. Now, the next thing is once we have explored that this is what you want to do, the next thing is, what is it that blocks me from achieving or moving towards my long-term goals? What hedges me in? What encloses me in a limited circle? What limits me? What are my limitations? You know, we should be able to understand that very intelligently, because once you know your blocks, they say that diagnosis is the first step to recovery. So we must understand what are my limits, what are the blocks that I am facing, and how to overcome it. Then the next thing is how to remove that. Now, let me begin by saying that I told you I have taught for more than 45 years, and I have interacted with many thousands of students and many hundreds of English teachers from all over the country, mostly from northern India. So I know the state of affairs of English teaching in the country. And one thing which is very obvious, and Saurabh sir hinted at it, see many English teachers, in fact most of them, I would even say 80% of them, that even if they know all the rules of English grammar, even if they have solved all the exercises in Wren and Martin and Thompson and Martinet, still they are not able to speak English. I mean, you must have been to college, you must have seen your own teachers, you know, in school, in college, people who taught you in postgraduate classes, people who taught you in undergraduate classes, you must have seen them, that they are not able to communicate in English. Now, this is one block, and of course, you are what your teachers have made you. I mean, I said whatever I am, it's because of my teachers. So whatever you are, it's because of your teachers. If you do not know English, if you are not confident in speaking English, if there are certain blocks that you are facing, they have also been transferred to you by your teachers. So even my limitations come from my teachers. And the teachers got this limitation from their teachers, and their teachers got their limitation from their teachers. So it has been coming down from generation to generation to generation. You know, it's a long-term illness, what you call. When you discuss that this is a terminal illness, it has reached the final point, you have to see that it has been going on, it has been growing for a long time. What is the problem? Where did we go wrong? Where did our educational system go wrong? That is the question. Not your problem, not my problem. But there is something, what does it? There is something rotten in the state of Denmark. Have you heard that?
Yes, sir.
Hamlet. So there is something rotten in the state of Denmark. What is the rot? What is the rot? My experience is, you know, because I was fortunate to go to University of Allahabad, and I had really wonderful teachers, exceptionally brilliant and good teachers, and they were able to cure the rot. But that kind of fortune, unfortunately, is not available to everyone. So, the basic thing, the what you call the, you remember that Ram and Ravan battle in Lanka, and when Ram face that Ravana was not dying, and his heads were, they kept coming up and up. Then there was, what is the secret? And then somebody told that it's in his navel. What is the secret of this disease, this cancer that we all have been suffering for a long time? No language can be taught through another medium. English cannot be taught through Hindi medium. It's impossible. It's just not possible. It cannot be done. If you learn a language through another medium, what happens? You gain an acquaintance of that language. If I learn French through English, or if I learn Bangla through Hindi, then I get an acquaintance of the French language, I get an acquaintance of the Bangla language. Possibly I know a little grammar, possibly I can read books in Bangla or French, I can understand it, but Bangla and French, they don't become my language. My language is the language in which I think, the language in which I can speak. When I am talking to you, I am not translating. That's one thing you should be able to see. Right now I am not thinking in Hindi and trying to translate it. Of course my Hindi is as good as my English, and I can speak very well in Hindi. But what happens here is that I have got two compartments. I switch over from one compartment to another compartment, but I don't translate. And we all have been taught English language through translation. मैं जाता हूँ, so this is I go. No sir, it doesn't work that way. That is where the fault is. Our teachers were taught through Hindi medium, you were taught through Hindi medium, and I tell you, it doesn't work at all. I tell you what I learned from my teachers. So just please tell me when it's time so I can stop. I remember a classroom just like this, one of my teachers, introductory classes, first week is introductory, the teacher is trying to know the students and the students are trying to get a feel. I mean, that is what is happening right now. I'm looking at your faces, I'm assessing you, I'm trying to see what kind of crowd it is, and you are also assessing your teacher. So we are kind of, entering into some kind of relationship, knowing each other. So that was introductory class, first week. And my teachers asked the class, how many of you have a dictionary at home? And many hands went up. Almost everybody had a dictionary. All right. How many, what kind of dictionaries you have? Somebody said, sir, we have that Bhargav English to Hindi dictionary. He said, how many of you had this English to Hindi Bhargav dictionary? And I think 90% of the hands went up. They all had. And he said, that's very good. That's very good. And so you bring all your dictionaries tomorrow. I want to see them whether you actually have. I want to verify that you are not just telling me lies. If you have an actual dictionary, bring it to class tomorrow. Everybody was very happy, service. Next day, we all brought our dictionaries. And he collected all of them and then he called the peon. He said, इसको एक बंडल में बांध दो, इसको एक उसमें बंडल में बांध दो, और इसको विवरण डाला बाद है, so he told the चपरासी, इसको बंडल में बांध दो और इसको गंगा जी में फेंकाना है. We all were shocked. इतना पैसा से डिक्शनरी खरीदी, सर ने उसको मंगाया और उसको बांध करके कह रहे गंगा जी में फेंक. But this happened. And he said I will pay for your dictionaries. You can collect money from me. I'll pay for it. And then he said, अगर आपका कोई दुश्मन है और अगर आप चाहते हैं कि वो जिंदगी भर अंग्रेजी न सीख पाए, तो उसको अगले बर्थडे पे भार्गव की इंग्लिश टू हिंदी डिक्शनरी जो है गिफ्ट कर देना, वो जिंदगी भर उसको अंग्रेजी नहीं आएगी। That was an eye-opener, a kind of shock, and then we went into further. There is another theory. I mean, there are many experts. There is a very successful method, not just a theory, but a method, which is called immersion. Do you know what it means to immersion? To put something, to submerge something in water or in any liquid is to immersion. You put a paper or you put anything in water, this is called immersion. Strangely. I am again quoting Oxford English Dictionary, the mother of all dictionaries. If there is one dictionary in the world, that's Oxford English Dictionary. It's the mother of all English dictionaries. So, whenever you have to quote authentically, quote OED. Interestingly, one of the definitions for this word immersion in Oxford English Dictionary is, I quote, a method of teaching a foreign language by the exclusive use of that language. This is the meaning of immersion in Oxford English Dictionary. What is this immersion? What is this immersion? See, how do you absorb? You put a paper in water and the water absorbs water. A sponge or paper or whatever you put in water, it absorbs. Chavala bigote ho, the rice absorbs water. It becomes good for cooking later. Absorption. How does it enter? How does it enter? How does language enter? There are 2 points of entry. This and this. Reading and listening. There are 2 methods of input. Only 2, there is no third one. So the language can enter your system through listening and through reading. So, sharing again from my teacher. I tell you, I cannot repay my debt to my teachers. What I can do is, whatever I learned from them, I can pass it on to future generations. This is my way of paying my debt to my teachers. So the next thing, the same teacher, introductory classes, and he said, stop reading him. Say, as a doctor, as a physician, I can prescribe medicines to you. This is the medicine, एक गोली सुबह, एक गोली दोपहर को, एक गोली शाम. This is all the physician can do. वो गोली आप खाते हो कि नहीं खाते हो, and what can I do? आप चाहें तो खाएं, आप चाहें तो ना खाएं, और आप नहीं खाएंगे तो आपको फायदा नहीं होगा. So what can I do? So he said, the next thing, stop reading him. Stop listening to him. Stop talking in it. He said, look, Hindi is your mother tongue. If you don't use it, you are not going to lose anything at all. Hindi is in your blood. It's part of your subconscious. So if I don't speak Hindi, if I don't read Hindi, if I don't write Hindi, he said that's not going to affect your knowledge, your confidence, your skills in the Hindi language. But at the same time, your skills and capacities in English language, in the foreign language, is going to grow tenfold. Tenfold. This is really magical. You can try it out. Try it out for, don't believe me. And of course, I tell you that I learned a lot from this method, and I'm absolutely grateful to my teachers who gave me this method. So he said, don't write Hindi. I mean, of course, our parents knew only Hindi, and I come from a village. I went to a village school, to a rural school. And when I came to Allahabad, even I did not know the sounds, the proper sounds. I was born in Awadh. Maybe you are familiar with Ramcharitmanas, Tulsi Ramcharit. It's written in Awadhi. And in Awadhi there is no Shah. Shivji hai, Shankar ji hai, Shah nahi hai. So when I came to Allahabad, I didn't have this Shah sound. है ही नहीं थी, हमारे आवाज में होती ही नहीं, वो साउंड ही नहीं होती है, so I didn't. So there was my uncle was professor at University of Allahabad. So I was talking to my uncle. I said, शिव जी ने कहा, क्या बोला? मैंने कहा शिव जी ने कहा. And he gave me such a hard slap, I was in 11th standard, little boy, not fully grown up, and he gave such a slap that I really tumbled down and fell, a couple of feet away. And he said, remember, शिव नहीं होता, शिव होता है, शंकर नहीं होता, शंकर होता है. अगली बार मैंने शाह की जगह सा सुना तो फिर यही होगा. I was in 11th standard. I was a little raw kid. I was shaking with fear. And believe me, I never made that mistake in life again. I stood corrected. I stood corrected. So, where we were talking about English. So naturally I came from a village, and my parents didn't know English. Most of us, my classmates. So my teacher said, okay, write a letter to your parents in Hindi. That we can tolerate. That is the exception that we can make, but nothing else. Now, you read newspapers, we all do. For what? Stop reading Amar Ujala and Dainik Jagran. Don't touch it. Just don't touch it. जैसे वो कोरोना आपने देखा ना, they are contagious diseases. अगर आपको लगता है कि इससे आपको कोरोना हो जाएगा तो आप मास्क पहनेंगे या don't touch it. Please treat Amar Ujala and Dainik Jagran. Just don't touch it. पढ़ना तो दूर की बात है. Just don't touch it. अगर पढ़ा भी हुआ है तो थोड़ा सा एक अलग खिसक चाय की दुकान में बैठे अमर उजाला दिखाई दे जाए, थोड़ा सा खिसक जाएगा. Don't touch it. It's your enemy number one. I'd say just start prescribing English newspapers. I don't favor anyone. You can prescribe Hindustan Times or Times of India or the Hindu, whatever you like. That's your choice. But read only English newspapers. You all read magazines. Whatever it is, you may be interested in films, you may be interested in entertainment or sports or current affairs or political situation, whatever. Again, don't read Hindi magazines. Read only English magazines. I don't know, Outlook or India Today. Treatment is to start reading novels. Whatever your area, you like, thrillers, you like romance. I mean, of course, if you have been through college, and if you have done your MA in English, then I would advise you to read Charles Dickens and Jane Austen and D.H. Lawrence, because you already have matured. So I would ask you to do that. Again, sharing with you my student days, I remember a lot of things as I'm talking to you. One of the things which I noticed, which was very different at Allahabad, and which I never came across at any other northern Indian universities, was in the fiction paper. You have some novelists, you have Dickens and Thackeray and D.H. Lawrence and Smollett and Fielding, and what do most of you do? You buy those kunjis or those medices and you read a summary and you cram up your answers and you write character of this and character of that, and that's all. 99% of students, if they are very honest, they have not read the text. They have not read the text. I said, if you are very honest, let me go back. When I said Saurabh sir is a very good human being, what do I mean by goodness? When I say he is a very good human being, and I want all of you to be good human beings. Because if you are not a good human being, you cannot become a teacher. You just cannot become a teacher without a goodness. A teacher is not a clerk, a teacher is not an engineer, a teacher is not a doctor. He is not treating a patient. He is not building bridges or roads. He's something else. He is giving shape to a child. He is grooming a child. Whether in school or college, I'm grooming you. You are what you are, and I'm trying to like a potter. I'm trying to put you into shape. I can see where there is something wrong, kahan pe tedha hai, kahan pe, and how to straighten it. So a teacher is a potter. He's giving shape to a child. He's giving shape to a generation. And sir, that is an extraordinary responsibility. You are responsible to the whole of mankind. You are responsible to the earth. The kind of child that you create, the kind of child, the kind of student that you mold, that student is going to be the part of society, and he is going to influence that society, and therefore he is going to influence the humanity, and he is going to influence the earth. And so you have an extraordinary responsibility. Remember, if you are not aware of it, don't be a teacher. Be a clerk, find another job. There are so many jobs. You can join the police force, you can join the army, you can join a bank. There are thousands of avenues where you can find work. But for God's sake, don't become a teacher. Don't do it. It's not for you. You have to decide whether you have the calling. So I was talking goodness. I said, I found he was a very good human being. What is this goodness? Maybe some other time we'll talk about it, but right now, because we were talking, so I remember it. Goodness, one thing is, you have to be sincere and honest. Let's not go into detail, about sincerity and honesty. That's the first, that's the foundation of goodness. In fact, I was talking, if you are honest, if you ask the students and they're honest, you will find that 99% of them have not read the text. If they are honest. That's where I remember goodness and I came back to it. So you have to, the teacher, sir, I'm not good, I'm not Buddha. I am not God. I have got a lot of weaknesses. I have got a lot of my own problems. You know, maybe my wife is not happy with me, my son is not happy with me. I have got my own problems. I am not a perfect. Say, good human being is not the perfect human being. There is a difference. I am not perfect. Now, good human being is, I can tell you, I am very sincere, I am honest, I have a relationship, we can also sit and discuss that. Aapka man kyun nahi lag raha? We can discuss, we can go into that problem also. But the first thing is that you have to be honest. So, back to what I was telling you, at Allahabad, when we were doing the fiction paper, all of us, especially the brilliant ones, the better ones, you know, the top 10 in the class, we used to compete. And the question was, how many Lawrence you have read? Sons and Lovers was prescribed. Nobody asked whether you have read Sons and Lovers. The question from a friend was, how many Lawrence you have read? How many Dickens you have read? How many Smollett you have read? And believe me, I am not telling a lie, I am not exaggerating. All of us had read at least 4 to 6 books of all the novelists that were prescribed in our course, and there were plenty of them. The syllabus was maybe 10 times bigger than the Kumaon University syllabus. I taught at Kumaon University and I studied at Allahabad University, so I can compare. I know both of them. You won't believe it. You won't believe it. How is it possible that a MA student had read at least 50 to 60 novels? How is it possible? You are not able to read 4 or 5 or 6 of them that are prescribed in your course. Nobody does that. And how this student at Allahabad University, all of them, I'm not talking about myself, all of us had read 50 to 60 novels while preparing for MA examination. Back. Immersion. I said, okay, all right, you may be interested in romantic novels, love stories at your age. That's the most important thing in the world. The boys are looking at girls and girls are looking at boys. So that's a very important phenomenon at your age. Romance or sports or crime thrillers, James Bond, Agatha Christie, I don't know what is the latest, you know, John le Carre. We read a lot of that. James Eddy Chase. We read all of that. Perry Mason. I remember, you know, what we did 50 years ago. Read them. Always keep a novel at hand. Always. एक नॉवेल खत्म हो तो दूसरा शुरू करो, दूसरा खत्म हो तो तीसरा शुरू करो. Keep reading. What happens when you are reading a novel? You want to know what happens next. जैसे सीरियल में होता है ना, अब क्या होगा? What happens next? Whether the police is going to catch the criminal or not? What is next? What is next? So you become totally involved in the text, and you go on reading and reading and reading, and then what happens? See, look at your subconscious process. You start listening to the characters. If you are reading about Jane and you are reading about Maria, then you are thinking, what is Maria going to say tomorrow? What is Maria going to say in the next episode? What is Jane going to say in the next episode? What will be David's answer in the next episode? And when you start thinking about David and Jane and Maria, they don't speak Hindi. They speak English. You look at the subconscious process. Jane and Maria and David, those characters, they start talking in English in your head. And your head becomes full of English. So you are all the time, even when you go to sleep, you are thinking about Jane and Maria and David. When you get up in the morning, you are thinking about Jane and Maria and David. This is total immersion. This does not and this cannot happen by reading newspapers and magazines. Therefore, newspapers and magazines are 5 mg medicine, and the novel is 100 mg or 500 mg medicine. So, if you want 100 mg or 500 mg, it's a research finding by linguists after experiment for decades. They came to the conclusion, लिख लीजिए formula. The output at its optimum is 10% of input. The output at its optimum is 10% of input. This is the research finding. इससे आप झगड़ा नहीं कर सकते कि झूठ बोल रहा है, गलत बता रहा है. मेरा कहना नहीं है. This is the research findings. There are 3 words: optimum, output, and input, which I need to explain. Optimum is the maximum. Optimum is the maximum. So that 10% happens in the case of very best students. 10% is not valid for every student, you know. For me this may be 2%, for you it may be 3% or 5% or 4%, not 10%. 10% happens only in the case of very best students. So that's the meaning of optimum. The output at its optimum is 10% of input. What is the output? Language, we are talking in terms of language. Output is writing and speaking. You are producing language. When you produce the language, this is the output. 2 skills, writing and speaking, they are output. The input, there are 2 inputs, reading and listening. Reading and listening, they are the input. Writing and speaking is output. I often heard, you know, my students would come to me, sir, और तो कोई problem नहीं है, थोड़ा सा लिखने में गलती हो जाती है और जरा बोलना नहीं आता है, अंग्रेजी में बोल नहीं. सर ये बस इतनी सी प्रॉब्लम है, बाकी अखबार पढ़ लेता हूँ, समझ लेता हूँ सब कुछ. यही 2 प्रॉब्लम है. अच्छा, आउटपुट हाई 0 है. आउटपुट नल में पानी ही नहीं आ रहा है. टंकी तो आपकी खाली है. टंकी आपकी खाली है और आप नल में जो है उसको डंडा मार रहे हैं कि नल से तो पानी ही नहीं गिर रहा है. इसको ना बोलना आता है, ना इसको लिखना आता है. टंकी तो आपकी खाली है. तो सॉल्यूशन क्या है? आउटपुट भूल जाइए. जस्ट फॉरगेट द आउटपुट. दैट्स नॉट व्हाट दैट्स आउटपुट इज ऑटोमेटिक. टंकी भरी होगी तो अपने आप पानी जोर से बहेगा. जितनी भरी होगी उतना प्रेशर बनेगा. आउटपुट ऑटोमेटिक है. यू डोंट हैव टू डू एनीथिंग अबाउट द आउटपुट. रिमेंबर, दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग आई एम शेयरिंग. You don't have to do anything at all about your output problem. It's not your problem. Your problem is input. Your problem is input because the tank overhead is empty. There's no water there. There's no content there. So your concern should be to fill the overhead tank. आप ओवरहेड टैंक भर दीजिए, पानी अपने आप नल में आने लगेगा, बहने लगेगा. You'll find that you can really speak very well, you can write very well. It will happen. You don't have to bother about your writing, you don't have to bother about speaking. It happens naturally, very naturally, automatically. You don't have to do anything about it. What we have to do is take care of it. Sir, how much English do you read? How much English do you listen? Again, I am going to give you a bitter pill. It may not be very savory. Start listening to a lot of English. Don't watch Hindi serials. Watch only English channels. Do it as 6-month treatment course. Do it yourself. Try it for 6 months and then see the results for yourself. Watch only English serials. Watch only English movies. If you think that you cannot hear it properly, use the subtitles. Get help from subtitles, but for God's sake, for next 6 months you are going to watch only English movies and no Hindi movies. The feeling should not be contaminated. कि बोतल में आधा फिल्टर का पानी है और आधा गौला का पानी है, नहीं होगा, नहीं होगा, नहीं होगा. Take care. So must listen to a lot of English movies. And now the things have improved much. When I was a student, I had to go to theatre to watch an English movie way back in 1970s. Now it's there on your phone. You can just subscribe to any channel. You can watch what is Netflix or watch a lot of English movies. Listen to a lot of English music. कान में लगा करके जब जॉगिंग के लिए आप जाते हैं ना, प्ले समझ में आए ना आए, ये जरूरी नहीं, समझ में आए ना आए. What is happening? The unconscious, the language is learned by unconscious. Language is not so much learned by the conscious mind. Your unconscious and subconscious is very important factor in language learning. Language is learned subconsciously. You have seen a child how he picks up language. What the child when listening to the mother or father picks up the language. It's subconscious and unconscious process language. So when you are listening to English sounds, of course, you need training and you have to find out what an English sounds like. My uncle, gave me the slap and he said, "Sha." It's not sa, it's not shivji, it's shivji. So that kind of training is also necessary. You have to know that this is think, this is think, this is sa. English, there are no English sounds equivalent to Hindi sounds. Every English sound is different from Hindi sounds. Maybe some other day. So that you need a training in phonetics. This is sa, this is sa, this is fa, this is va, this is ra. So आपका दा जो है और इंग्लिश का जो then, this, right. Now this ra is very different from da. सिर्फ दो साउंड्स हैं, या एंड वा, जो अंग्रेजी और हिंदी में एक जैसी, और कोई साउंड एक जैसी. हम लोग क्या करते हैं कि अंग्रेजी जो है हिंदी मीडियम में बोलते हैं ज़्यादातर. I mean, your sound is Hindi sound. You are using Hindi sounds for speaking English words. That's not done. That's not done. It's already it has been a long lecture. So, language learning or English learning has two components, theory and practice. So, if I get a chance to meet you again, we'll have a practice session and I will not bore you with my lectures. Thank you very much.
So, thank you so much, sir, for enlightening all of us. And personally, I would really, as you have said, that sincerity and honesty is a very important thing for a good human being. And keeping these two factors in my mind, I would really, personally, would also like to share with you all that I have learnt a lot in these minutes that sir has shared with you all. Probably probably all of you may not comprehend what sir has given to us in these 70-80 minutes. He has essentially distilled all his experience, all his knowledge to all of us, and it was such an engaging lecture that I personally wanted that it should continue. It was such a fascinating lecture, and the way sir has given his real life anecdotes, the incidents that he has shared, all these things I think will help us in going ahead as a learner, especially as an English learner. So personally sir, we all would love to hear you again, and it would be an honor for all of us if we can have practice session and all the things that sir has shared with you all. Would you like sir to come? So thank you sir. Thank you.
Just one thing, when you come to my class, remember one thing, I don't teach in Hindi medium. I just don't teach in Hindi medium, so you should be ready for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.